Hello, Jake. You are up last, sir.
Hey, Bart, can you hear me?
Yep,
Do you want to hear the size of the game?
sure.
So I'm playing a 5-10 with a $10 big blind ante, a mandatory $20 straddle, and then a $40 straddle on this hand at a TCH Social in Austin private game.
So mandatory 3 blinds, and then the straddle's on, or is it mandatory 4 blinds?
So the 20 is mandatory, the 40 was optional.
Okay. I remember playing some games like this in Texas. And the one thing I say about this too is that the one adjustment that you have to make with this many blinds is that you can't really open. People sometimes will get folded in them on the button, and then they'll open a button range when they don't recognize that you're dealing with extra unseen hands, right? If it goes in order.
Yeah, it was virtually impossible to steal the blinds in this configuration.
Yeah. How deep are you?
46.75.
TCH Austin Social. So I used to live in Austin. Is TCH Austin Social just like the renovated TCH Austin, or do they have another location in Austin?
It's the only one in Austin.
Okay.
From what I know,
Or maybe they moved or something. Maybe they moved down the street. I don't know if they moved location. Is it in a little strip mall?
Yeah, it's actually pretty new. It's very well kept. It was a very nice room.
Maybe they moved from where they
Maybe.
were. Okay.
But this TCH runs a lot more 2-5 than some of the other ones like in Dallas, from what I've heard.
Okay.
This was only my first time going.
Well, remember, I don't know if they've changed the structures, but 2-5 in Texas is like a 10-20 game everywhere else because of the match, the stack, and all that other stuff. That's why you barely ever see like a 2-5 was the big game.
So, as you alluded to, it folds to me on the button.
Okay.
And I have ace-7 of diamonds.
So hero on the button. Ace of diamonds, 7 of diamonds?
Yep.
Okay.
I opened to 125, which was the standard open.
Okay.
And it folds to the $40 straddle, and he 3-bets to 425.
So just over 3x.
Yeah. So I think I have a pretty standard call here in position.
Yeah, call, or I guess sometimes slivers of 4-bet as a bluff, I suppose.
I'd rather 4-bet more of like the suited wheel aces. I feel like they have a little more playability. But
all right, so you make the call.
Yeah. Oh, and just so you know, the villain is T1000.
Oh, yes, T1000. That is JC. If you guys remember, we did that hand. We can put a link up to it. I was tripping my balls off for $50,000 or whatever, or $20,000 with a thumbnail with me tripping my eyes, where my buddy from Vegas, who I think is from South Carolina, got bluffed off of the king, like in a 5-bet pot by T1000 with 9s on the Lodge live stream. So very aggressive player. I've played some big, I actually ended up playing some big pots. I think his name is JC, right? I played some big pots with him when I was there. So if he plays anything like he did before, it's fairly aggressive.
Yeah, he was very aggressive. I actually didn't know that who he was going into the hand. I kind of put it together later. But there was a bunch of Lodge live stream players in this game.
So the pot's probably something like 900, right? With the dead
man. Yeah, I have it right at 900.
All right. Okay. So ace-7 diamonds, defend on the button. Okay.
Yep. So the flop comes queen of spades, 7 of clubs, 4 of hearts.
Queen spades, 7 of clubs, 4 of hearts. This is in the private room, but it's not live streamed.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So villain leads out for 350, like 30-40% pot.
Okay.
I think I have a pretty easy call here.
Yeah, I think so.
Middle pair, 5 outs to a decently strong hand. So I call, and the turn is the queen of hearts.
The queen of hearts.
Yep. So it brings in backdoor hearts. And I honestly think this is one of the best turns in the deck for me that's not an ace or a 7.
Why do you say that?
It just makes it less likely that he has a queen.
It makes it less likely if he has a queen, and if he were to take some sort of bet line, and he never did that with anything else but a queen, like if he didn't do that with kings or jacks or 10s or something like that, then he's going to have a queen or better or a bluff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the pot is 1,600.
Now, if he checked you, what would you have done?
I think I would have bet small, like maybe 400 to 500.
For a little bit of equity protection and then just check back rivers?
Yeah, that would be my plan.
Okay.
But that's not what happens because he bets 600 into a $1,600 pot.
So the straddle bet's 600 here. So
I think I have a pretty standard continue here.
this is interesting because a lot of times, again, a lot of the non-Queen X hands will want to slow down here a little bit, even like aces, kings, pairs. I suppose you could make a case here that you could bet something like tens again, or like eights through jacks here again. He can, if he's structuring correctly, but I've seen this guy just kind of go balls to the wall sometimes with bluffs anyways. But if you're structuring correctly, backdoor hearts, continuing with some sort of like straight draws, like if you 3-bet like 5-6 suited, something like that. He bet 600. And yeah, I mean, I would get fairly curious here now too. Less of a chance that he has a queen. Again, you can sometimes get value towned basically if he does bet other things here for value that are better than a 7. It's not like he took huge sizing. So it's interesting with this sizing. Like if you bet 15 or 1600, and that's always going to be a queen or a bluff, but this is a little bit in between.
Yeah, and I saw him go pretty thin for value earlier in the session, and a few times where he turned a pair into a bluff and got called by worse somehow.
Nate says we can raise here. He's going to bomb the river if you call. Wow, that's interesting. Raise as like a stop raise?
Well, like what size would I raise to? Like,
I guess you could just click it to like 13, 1400, something like that. I mean,
then what if he stuffs it on you?
Well, I think you have to fold at that point. But again, that's like another one of these sort of like turning that whole block bet from on the river to prevent getting bluffed around on it. You're kind of turning that around. Like, he doesn't get to bluff you when you raise because you have value when you raise. You know what I'm saying? But the whole stop raise to prevent this guy from bluffing, I suppose. I mean, I don't know if that's a theory thing, but I suppose.
That's not a play I really ever make.
Yeah. You probably don't face like this type of player all that much.
No, I've never played against this caliber of player before.
So he bets 600, you call. Now the pot's 2,800.
Yep. Yeah. And the river is the 8 of clubs.
So the river's the 8 of clubs. So it's queen, 7, 4, queen, 8, 5, 6 comes in. And I'm thinking about like his value portion. So what is the 8 change? 5, 6 comes in. And if he was betting 8s through jacks, 8s comes in. Okay. Yep.
And then also 7, 8 would be a hand that I was ahead of before, but now behind too. Be like 7, 8 suited. And also like any queen.
Well, of course. But I'm just saying what the 8 had changed. Okay. So
yeah. So he jams for 3,200.
So straddle jams for 3,200. I mean, you might just look at this as like an MDF type of thing here. Perspective. I mean, you do block pocket 7s. Sure, I get that. Do you arrive here? And then also, too, there is, well, I'm trying to think of how does the 7 interact here with, it's 3,200. It's 3,200. So, yeah, just over a pot size bet, right?
Yeah, it's like pot and a quarter.
Yeah.
Maybe less. But the 7 doesn't interact with the queen at all.
Right.
With the combos, I mean, it takes away one combo of ace queen suited, but I didn't even consider that in the moment.
Well, right. And I was just trying to think like, I mean, you have some 5, 6 here. You have some pocket 8s. You have slow played hands like 7s and 4s and things like that. And you probably would take a line of slow play against a guy like this if he's continuing to bet turn. You don't really need to. It's not like the previous call from the live stream where you need to build. You're moving to the river here with one pot size bet left. So you do have some stronger hands here.
Yeah. Also, I may play like queen 10 or queen jack suited this way.
Right. Yeah. That's what I mean. Like you've got queen X, you've got 7s, you've got 4s, you've got 5, 6, you've got 8s. And I mean, you also have like 9s and 10s and things like that, which I suppose you can make a case. That just maybe having the 7 here is better.
Well, that was going to be my next question is like, would you rather have a 7 here or have like pocket 9s?
I guess you'd rather have a 7.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Is it ever like you just see some weird things. I don't like people change. I remember some weird things, and I don't know if this was like the early part of when he started playing, but once in a while you get in these weird spots where a guy like he bets like this, and then you call, and he's like good call, and he rolls over like pocket nines, and you somehow accidentally lose.
I think he's extremely capable of getting here with 8-7 and playing it this way is something that I would like accidentally lose to.
Well, that would be in the same caliber as nine. So why would he be betting 8-7 this way?
I had seen him turn pairs into bluffs earlier in the session.
But what is he, if he has 8-7, what is he trying to bluff you off of? Nines and tens?
Something I considered in the moment. Just like, oh, I have a counterfeit 2-pair. I'm just going to go for it, like the PLO bluff.
Honestly, my gut, I don't think I would call here. I don't think I would call here just because I think you've got enough Queen X where I don't know. I mean, again, I haven't played with this guy in a long time, but just sometimes people like when they're up against like who they deem as a maniac, they go a little bit overboard. I don't know if just as my gut, these types of boards with where you can have like whenever there's a board where you have hands that are just going to be clear calls, meaning like trips, they're not bluffed as much. It's not quite the same as like if the board was queen, 7, 4, deuce, king. You see what I'm saying? And you're holding on with like pocket eights or something like that.
Yeah, but there's a lot more natural bluffs there, and a lot more that could fold to, like, say the river was a king, like an overcard.
Right, but what I'm saying is that but here, if you have a queen, like you're always calling.
Yeah, I've never folding a queen here.
Right. So like I said, my gut here is that this isn't bluffed as much when you have hands that are he's just gonna like shovel into that are just like you're just always calling. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and like you were saying, like with 7s and 4s, I think against most players, I would raise on the flop with a set. I never get here with like queen 7 or queen 4 for 2-pair, but I think against somebody like this, I would definitely slow play.
Nate says, I don't think the caller has enough queen X. If I was the villain here, I would take this line with a shit ton of bluffs. Why is that, Nate? Is that because you think that the caller is going to raise at some point with queen X, or that he doesn't necessarily defend down? What is the bottom part of your pre-flop defending range here that contains a queen? I assume that you're continuing with king queen off, right?
I was just thinking about it. I think pre-flop queen 10 suited, maybe
Right.
queen 9 suited. Do we fold off like queen 8, queen 7?
What about king queen off?
I would call king queen off on the button. Out of position, I'd most likely fold.
Right. And you'd probably call with ace queen too, right? Off.
Yeah, ace queen suited, I would 4-bet at some frequency.
So I mean that seems like that's a lot of queens to me.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I know. So I mean that's my gut. I would say that I would probably live to see another day here. What did you end up doing?
I ended up folding. Like another thing to consider was like this game was a bit of a shot take for me. Like I was told it was going to be 5-10 and it ended up being 20-40. And this would have been like the biggest all-in call with a bluff catcher in my life. I didn't know if I was ready to stomach just calling and getting shown a queen.
So another comment here, Ramsey Ramirez says, I think if we fold as bluff catchers worse than queen X, we're folding too much. This hand seems like a reasonable bluff catcher unblocking bluffs and blocking value, which is definitely true. The part about that it unblocks bluffs and blocking value. And I think, again, what the discussion here you would probably rather have a7 than 9-9, specifically because you unblock all his bluffs, you block him having pocket sevens. I guess at this point we don't really think he's got aces, but you block him having ace queen.
Yeah.
Did you ever get a reveal?
Yeah, so I folded and he windmilled 10-6 offsuit.
Oh no. See, that's the thing about these guys, right? Like if you see that, you're like, oh God, I gotta start. But you hadn't played any hands with him, right?
No, this was like the first and only hand that I played with him all night.
Off. So it's interesting because, you put that in and you're like, well, if there's a guy that if he overbluffs, if he's capable of taking hands that are just like so far out there and bluffing his entire stack with them, then what's the response? Then you got to call down more often. Right.
And later on in the session, we were playing a $500 penalty stand-up game. And if that was going on, I definitely would have made the call without much thought.
Yeah.
And if I had seen, like, he was just showing down ridiculous hands in stand-up. And if I had seen that before this hand, I would have probably made the call.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. Thanks for the call, Jake. I appreciate it.